Hello student armies, welcome back to Diksha Vedantu channel. This is your biology master teacher Navya, and today in this particular session we will be completing the chapter control and coordination. Right? So in this one particular session I am gonna cover all the topics that fall under this particular chapter. Right? And also I have included certain MCQs. After completing each and every topic, there are certain MCQ questions in which I want you all to answer. Right? And also in between, if you have any doubts, please feel free to comment in the comment section. Okay? Clear with that? Fine. So before starting today's session, once I would like to inform you all that, like you all know, we conduct quiz every day, right, after completing that one particular session. So after completing this session, you can attend the quiz, and the link for this quiz is provided in the description. And also once the session is done, you can also download your notes of this particular session. Okay, the link for downloading the notes will also be provided in the description. And also you can download previous year question paper, past 5-year question paper, and the link for the downloading those question paper is also provided in the description. Right? Okay, and like that only, in case if you want any other updates related to our channel, then you can join our Telegram channel, and the link for the Telegram channel is also provided in the description. Okay, clear with that? So yeah, before starting the session, once I would like to confirm that, am I audible, students? Am I audible? Yes. So the live has started and I guess I'm audible, right? Yes, good morning students, good morning everyone. So all ready for the session? So before getting into the chapter, let's understand what are we going to cover in this one particular session. Okay, that is what is our agenda in this particular session. Okay, so first we are starting with introduction part. Okay, wherein I will briefly introduce what is control and coordination chapter all about, why is it important and all that. Okay, after that we'll be starting with nervous system. We'll understand what is nervous system, and then we'll understand what are all the components of nervous system and all that. Fine. And after that we will study about how the signal is being transmitted in our body. Right? Okay. After that we will be studying about reflex action, types of reflex action and all that, and once we are done with reflex action, then we will see the differences between the voluntary, involuntary and also the reflex action. Yes student, it's from a couple of weeks we have been teaching in this channel. It's quite new. Okay, yeah. And then where was I? Yeah. We will see the differences between voluntary, involuntary and also the reflex action. After that, we will be starting with the human nervous system. In human nervous system, we will be covering the central nervous system, wherein we will study about the brain, the structure of brain, and then about spinal cord, right? And after that, we will be studying about peripheral nervous system as well. So this is all about the human nervous system, right? And after that we will be seeing the endocrine system in both plants as well as in human beings. Okay, clear with that? Wherein we will study about hormonal coordination in humans, we will study about endocrine glands, and then we will cover the coordination in plants. See, plants don't have nervous system. Instead, even over there, the hormones play a major role in control and coordination within plant body. Okay, clear with that? And then we will study about tropic movement, nastic movement. After that, finally, we will see what are all the plant hormones. Nothing but we'll study about phytohormones. So this is going to be the agenda for this one particular session. Okay, there is a student who is asking that how many hours is this session going to be, right? It's going to be for 2.5 hours, that's it. Okay, and here mostly I am covering like for your exam point of view what is important and how you will have to present your answer. Keeping that in mind, I have presented this, I have prepared this presentation. Okay students, so I will be covering all these topics in this particular session within 2.5 hours. Okay, are you all ready for the session? Shall we get started with the session? Okay, yeah. So before getting into the chapter, I told you now first I will give a brief introduction about this chapter, the control and coordination. Right. So now, what did we study in our previous chapter? What did we study in our previous chapter? We spoke about certain life processes. We spoke about the processes which are taking place in our body. Nothing but where we saw certain organ systems, how they function and all that. Wherein we studied about digestive system, respiration, excretion, transportation and all that in our previous session. So in this chapter, we'll be talking all about control and coordination. Okay, you all might be wondering, right, that what is this control and coordination, what is being controlled in our body, what will have to coordinate in our body, right? You will have these questions, right? So let's look at these images. Look at this first image. Look at this first image. What is happening in this first image? See, there is a boy, right, is running. Why is he running? Because a dog is chasing him, right? Maybe what would have happened in this scenario? Maybe let's say that a boy, he was just, maybe he was walking, right? All of a sudden, he will notice he will hear a dog barking, and then when he turns behind, he will notice that, okay, there was a dog chasing him. So as soon as he noticed that there was a dog that is running behind him, what will he do? Immediately he will run, right? So now, why did that? See, okay, the boy, when he looked at dog chasing him, how did he realize that, okay, he should run now? So who is it in his body? What is it within our body that is telling us that, okay, now you will have to run. Okay, now you have to stand aside. Okay, now you will have to sit. Now you will have to do that work. Who is it that is giving that command in our body? There is something that is happening in our body which is providing that command, and we are acting accordingly, right? So same thing happened in this situation also. The boy, as soon as he saw the dog chasing him, immediately he realized that he should run. There was some message that was provided to him that he should run like that. Okay, so that is first scenario. Now look at this second image. What is happening in second image? See, there is a little boy, and by mistake you can see there is a hot water. You can see the vapors also. By mistake, he spilled those hot water onto his hand, and immediately he burnt his hand, right? You can see that red thing. So what that kid would have done as soon as the hot water spilled over his hand? Immediately he would have taken it back, right? He would have felt that burning sensation, right? So after that he would have applied ice or ointment. But then, see, as soon as the hot water fell on his hand, he realized that it was burning. It was very hot. He realized, he could feel the pain. How is it possible for him to feel the pain? What is it that is present in our body which is making us to feel that pain, to sense that burning sensation? What is it? Right? And then this is the second scenario. And then in the third scenario, look at this girl. She is having pizza in her hand. As soon as, maybe this is her favorite. So as soon as she saw the pizza in her hand, all of a sudden her mouth started watering. Right. See, she's just looking into the pizza and immediately she got that craving. Right. And then her mouth started watering. How did her mouth started watering? How did her mouth, how did she feel that craving when she looked at that, pizza? Right. And then look at this fourth scenario. Look at this fourth condition. Even over here, plant. See, if you water the plant regularly, then the plant will grow. It will grow healthy, like it will be greenish in color, it will give us fruits, flowers and all that. What if we don't water the plant? If you don't water the plant and if the sunlight is not provided to the plant, what will happen? The plant will dry like this, right? So now in all the four scenario, you saw that every living organism, see, we human beings, we are life form, right? And then the plant is also a life form, right? So every living organism, from this images you understood, right, that every life form respond to the situation that is happening in our environment, right? Now the question is, how are we responding to the situation? What is it that is present in our body which is making us respond to that situation? See, he realized that there is a danger in his surrounding, danger in his environment, that's why this boy is running. And even over here, this boy realized that, okay, hot water, you know, it spilled over his hand, that's why he felt that burning sensation, right? He felt that burning sensation, that's why he will apply ice, or he will take some, he will apply ointment and all that, right? Even the plants, see, even when you don't water the plant properly, even it is responding to the situation. How? It's because they're getting dried, right? It is getting dried, right? Even this girl, she is responding to that, her mouth started watering, right? So the thing is, every living organism is responding to the situation that is happening around us. And the question is, how are we responding to it? What is it in our body that is causing response? So we will be studying about that what is it that is making us respond to that situation in this particular chapter. Okay, you understood that why are we studying about control and coordination now? Right, so before getting into the chapter, I also want you all to know these terms, okay? So there is this term which is called as stimulus. Stimulus is nothing but, see, in our surrounding, there are certain changes that takes place. Like I told you, in this person's surrounding, all of a sudden he realized that it is danger, that's why he is running. So there is change in his environment. Even look at the plant. In plant's environment also, maybe there is no proper water, maybe there is no proper sunlight. That's why the plant is also getting dried. Nothing but there is some change in the surrounding, right? And that change in the surrounding is actually activating our sense organ. It is activating our sense organ, right? Because of which we are responding to it. So when someone asks, or in your exam also, what is stimulus? What is stimulus? See, we'll be using this term stimulus throughout the session. That's why before getting into the session, I am giving those examples, right? So that it will be easy for you to understand, and also I am making you all understand the terminologies. So the stimulus is nothing but it is change in our environment. Any change in our environment which is making us respond to it. That is stimulus. Okay? Clear with that? Right, and these stimulus, it can be external also and it can be internal also. Hi students, hello everyone, and good afternoon to everyone. Right, okay, there is a student who is asking me to repeat it. You can do one thing, student, see, you can, watch the session from the beginning. Right, see, already I have started in this one particular session. I am gonna cover the entire chapter. So again, if I keep on repeating, then what happens? It will be a lengthier video. That's why you just, go back and see from the beginning. Okay, clear with that? So you understood, right, what is stimulus? Any change in our surrounding that is making us respond to it. Okay, so what is response? Response is nothing but the way we react to that change. The way we react to that change, that is called as response. So you understood the difference between stimulus and response, right? So now every living organism, every life form, see, both plants and animals, they respond to stimulus. Nothing but we respond to each and every situation that is happening around us, right? But in a different manner. See, plants respond differently and animals also respond differently. We human beings respond differently. See, look at this plant. See, it is responding differently. It is getting dried when the water was not provided. Whereas this boy, when he noticed that the dog is chasing him, he is running. But then we are responding it, but the response is in different manner. Okay, clear with that? Fine. Now look at this image. You all would have seen in every school there will be cultural event every year, right? So you all would have taken part in group dance and all that, right? So when there is group dance, when you see group dance, you see that each and every individual that is taking part in the dance, they coordinate with each other. They coordinate with each other and they perform. Right. In case, now imagine that in case if they don't coordinate with each other, just like that they are dancing. Do you think that dance, it looks good? Do you think the performance goes well in case if they don't coordinate with each other? Obviously no, right? So always when they are performing group dance or any other or else group song, when they are singing together, each individual will have to coordinate with each other and perform. Right. So when they are dancing, their hands, legs, everything will be under their control. It is under control, and also they are coordinating with each other and they are performing that activity. Right. So similarly within our body also there are so many organs. See, I told you already in our previous chapter, that is life process chapter, we studied about so many organ system, wherein we studied about digestive system, respiration, transportation, excretion and all that. In each process, certain organs were involved, right? For example, in case of circulation, circulatory system, heart was involved. In case of respiration, your respiratory system, lungs was involved. In case of digestive system, stomach, liver, pancreas and all that, right? So for each process to be carried out in our body, there are certain organs that are involved. Right, we all are multicellular organisms, so we have well developed organs and each organ is specialized to perform particular function. We all know that, right? Now, these organ, they must coordinate with each other and then they should perform their function. Okay, then they should perform their function. Hi students, hello everyone, hi. Yeah. So, just like this group dance, consider each one is like organ and they should coordinate with each other and then they should perform their function, right? So similarly in our body also the organs have to coordinate with each other and perform their function, right? So now for those organs to coordinate with each other, the functioning of those organs must be under control. If the functioning of those organs, if it is under control, only then those organs will coordinate with each other and perform function. So, in this control and coordination is all about, see, you see there is some change that is taking place in our environment and we are responding to it. That is also controlled by some, there is an organ that controls that thing. Okay, and even within our body there are other organs whose function is controlled, because of which they coordinate with each other and perform their function. Okay, that is all about control and coordination, right? That's why I gave you those examples in order to make you all understand clearly, right? So now let's see that what is this control and coordination. See, like I told you, there are various organs that is working together systematically and it is within our body and it is also controlled and efficient way to produce proper response to the various stimulus. That is known as coordination. Now, why is it necessary? The question is, why is this control and coordination necessary? Why is it necessary? See, each organ in an organism is specialized. I told you, each organ is specialized to perform particular function. Like I told you, lungs is involved in respiration, the heart is involved in pumping the blood, kidney is involved in excretion. Like that, each organ is specialized to perform particular function, right? And it is necessary that all these organs, they must work together. They must work together to produce proper response to the stimulus. Right. So in order to produce a proper response and in order to maintain the efficiency of that functioning of each and every organ, control and coordination is very important. So now the question is, who is controlling those the functioning of those organs in our body and how, because of which they are coordinating? How is that happening is the question. right? That is controlled by nervous system and endocrine system in our body. Clear with that? Now did you all get what I am explaining? You understood, right, that what is the importance of control and coordination in our body? What is the role that is played by control and coordination in our body? Clear with that, right? So now, how will you define what is control and coordination? It is very simple. It is nothing but it is the synchronization between the different organs of the body. Why? So that they can work together in harmony. In harmony, in case if they are not work together, in case if they don't work together, what happens? Then it will cause harm to our own body only. That's why the functioning will have to be controlled. And then they must coordinate with each other. See, in previous chapter also we saw that there are those processes were there, no? They were interdependent. They were, see, the digestion, respiration, transportation, excretion, everything was interdependent. Right? So they must coordinate with each other and they should function. To, why? To perform vital activity of the life. So there is something in our body that is, it is like the principle. It is like in your school there is a principle, right, which is providing those rules and regulations for your school. Similarly, in our body also there is some organ which is actually controlling the functioning of other organs, so that those organs can coordinate with each other and perform the function in order to maintain the, harmony in our body. Along with that, it also helps in providing or it also helps in generating the response in our body to the stimulus that is taking place in the environment, in the surrounding environment. Clear with that? So what is it? It is nervous system that is controlling, along with that endocrine system is also controlling. So just like how we studied in life process chapter, we studied digestion, we studied about nutrition, we studied about transportation, respiration, excretion and all that, right? In this control and coordination chapter, we will be studying about nervous system and endocrine system. You got an idea, right, that what is this nervous system and endocrine system doing in our body? You're clear with that, right? So now let's see, before starting, first we'll be starting with nervous system and then we'll move on to endocrine system. Okay, so before that, let's try to understand how is this nervous system controlling, how is this endocrine system controlling in our body, and what is the difference between them. Okay, see, the nervous system, they control and coordinate through electrical impulse, and then endocrine gland through hormones. Hormones, these are nothing but these are chemical messenger. They are actually secreted by glands. There are certain glands that are present in our body. We'll study about that as well. The glands secrete those hormones, and then those hormones, their function is very specific. It is very specific to particular organ. It is very specific to their particular organ, right? And then they target particular organ and they control that particular organ, right? Clear? So the production of hormone and the functioning of the hormone is controlled by nervous system. See, there is nervous system and endocrine system. Again, that endocrine system is controlled by nervous system only. Okay, clear with that? Fine. So now let's move on to the nervous system, and this is the just image to show that how endocrine system is actually making us produce the response. See, first there is stimulus in our environment, maybe there is some change in our environment. Okay, when there is some change in our environment, what happens? The nervous system, that stimulus will be recognized by our body. We will see how that stimulus is recognized by our body, right? Okay, so there are some students who are asking doubts. See, students, first let me cover one particular topic. Okay, after completing that topic, I will give you time to ask questions. Now, write down those questions aside and I'll allot particular time for explaining those questions, because there are some students who are also watching this session. In case if I stop the explanation, it will be interrupting, right? That's why write down your questions. After completing particular topic, I will allot 5 minutes time so that you can ask your question and I'll also give explanation for those questions, right? Just now it's been just few minutes since I started this session, and now we are getting into the chapter now. So let's get into the chapter, and don't worry, I will clarify your doubts. Okay, clear with that? Fine. So now let me get into the session. Okay, fine. Okay. So yeah, this is how the endocrine system controls and coordinates the organ in our body. So first what happens, there should be some stimulus, only then our body responds to it. Okay, now the question is, how is our body responding to it? That too through endocrine system. So first what happens, there is some stimulus that will be recognized by our body, and that signal is sent to the brain, which is your nervous system. And then from brain, there are certain messages that will activate the endocrine glands. And these endocrine glands will secrete the hormone. These are the endocrine gland, and they will secrete the hormone. Okay, and then that hormone is poured into the blood stream, and then the blood will carry those hormone to the target organs in our body. I told you, hormone is very specific when it comes to its function. Okay, it is very specific, right? It will perform its function only on particular organ. Clear with that? And after that, what happens? The organ will, it will respond to that particular situation. And one more thing, see what is the difference between endocrine system and the nervous system is that, see, the nervous system, it produces response very fast. It is very fast. When it comes to endocrine system, the response is slow. That is one difference. Okay, clear with that? See now, and here endocrine system, it has no direct connection with the organs or tissue. It does not have direct connection. Whereas nervous system, it has direct connection with the tissues as well as organs. Okay, and then one more thing here, like I told you, the response is slow. It is slow. Like for example, you would have seen newborn baby. When the baby is born, it will be so tiny. You just visit that baby after 1 year, it would have grown. And again, when you see that same baby after maybe like 5-6 years, it would have grown, right? So here the growth is happening bit slowly, and the growth is also under control. Now look at your fingers. Your fingers are so tiny. When you compare with yourself, the fingers are tiny. So over here the growth is limited in the finger, right? And also you all know, we human being, we grow only till particular age. Girls usually till 18 and boys usually till 21 years, right? So the growth is slow, and it is also till certain period of time, right? Now who is it in our body that is controlling the rate of growth? Because the growth also, it should be under control. If you grow too much also, it is a deficiency, and if you grow less, it is deficiency, and if you grow too tall also, that is also a type of disorder, right? So growth is under control. Who is controlling it? It is endocrine system. I told you endocrine system, it deals with those control and coordination which is occurring slowly in our body. That's why I gave you the example of growth. It will be easy for you to understand. Okay? And whereas when it comes to nervous system, I told you it is very fast. Example is, now maybe without my knowledge, there is candle kept over there. Without my knowledge, I just, a candle, it is, there are birthday candles, and without my knowledge, I touch the flame. Then immediately I will take back my hand. The response is very fast. The response is very fast over there. That is controlled by nervous system. That's why see here, the tissues and organ, they are in direct connection, whereas over here they are not in direct connection. And here the effect is long lasting, and this effect is long lasting, whereas the effect that is given by this nervous system is short lived. So now did you understand the difference between nervous system and endocrine system? Right? Now you would have got an idea, no? So I explained, I gave a detailed explanation for the introduction itself. Like what is this control and coordination, why is this happening, what is its role in our body, and who is it that is controlling, and why is it important for the organs to coordinate with each other, and all that. Right? It is nervous system and endocrine system that is controlling. Okay? Nervous system includes fast response, whereas endocrine system includes slow response. Clear with this? You understood the difference, right? Okay, so now we will get into the nervous system. See, you will see nervous system only in animals, only in human beings as well as animals, whereas in plants there is no nervous system, because plants, they don't have any organs, right? Instead, over there hormones comes into picture. Over there you will get to see these, we'll study about hormonal coordination in plants. Okay, clear with that? So now we'll start with the nervous system first. We'll focus on human beings first. Okay, so what is nervous system? What does nervous system include? First of all, there is brain, spinal cord, nerves, and then the structural and functional unit of nerves is neuron, right? So we will study about all that, and how is this nervous system functioning, we will see that. Okay, so in the beginning I have given you 5 to 6 examples, right? In each example, see, in the that too in the first 4 you saw that in the external environment there was stimulus that was created. There was some change in the external environment and our body was responding to that stimulus, right? So now the question is, how is our body recognizing that stimulus? What is present in our body which is identifying those stimulus? In the sense, it is receptor. There are receptors that are present in our sense organs. What are all the sense organs that we have? It is eyes, nose, ears, tongue, as well as skin. With the help of our eyes, we can see what is happening in our surrounding environment. Like in that first example, the boy, he heard, with the help of his ear, he heard a dog barking, and even he saw that the dog was chasing him, so he ran. So how could he see that? How did he hear that? What is it that was recognizing those stimulus and sending that to brain? So those, and then also I told you there was a girl who could smell the pizza and her mouth started watering. She could smell that pizza and also her tongue, like, you know, it was feeling the taste also, no, and she got that cravings. And also the boy, by mistake, the hot water spilled over his hand, right? And he felt that burning sensation, their skin was involved. So these are the sensory organ which can sense the things that are happening in our surrounding. Right, now the question is, from these sense organ, how is that, you know, message getting into our brain? Answer is simple. See, in these sense organ, there are receptors that are present. Right, now you might wonder, ma'am, what are receptor, what is receptor and all that. So now I told you, in this sense organs, at that, what is there? Nerve cells will be present, and at the tip of some nerve cells there are receptors that are present, and these receptors are capable of capturing those stimulus, and then it will transmit it within our body, and that stimulus, when after the receptor recognizing that stimulus, that will be sent to the nerve cell. That will be sent to the nerve cell. In nerve cell, that stimulus, that message is there, no, that is converted to electrical signal, and then that electrical signal is passed to the brain, and then the brain will send message to the respected organ or respected part of our body which should respond to that situation. Now, for example, in the first example, the boy, he got scared, he saw a dog chasing him, he saw as well as he heard the dog barking, so he started running. So in his eyes there are certain receptor, for in eyes there are certain receptor, and also he could hear in his ears also there is certain receptor. That receptor captured the stimuli and it converted it into electrical signal, and that electrical signal was sent to brain, and then brain sent message to his muscle cells in the leg, okay, to run, okay. So when the brain sends message to the muscle cells, their muscle cell will contract and relax so that the boy can run, right. This is how other organs also in our body, they are controlled and coordinated by our nervous system, okay. So now you understood, no, that how those sense organ, how are they capturing the stimulus? It is with the help of the receptor, with the help of the receptor. Now what are the receptors that are present? See, in our nose, see, we can smell. So which type of receptor is present in the nose? It is olfactory receptor, which can detect the smell. Okay, and in our tongue, which type of receptor is present? It is gustatory receptor. Which can detect the taste. And then what about skin? In skin, we can feel not just when someone touches us from behind, we can feel that somebody is holding our hand or somebody is touching us, or if by mistake if you touch hot vessel, immediately you will take your hand back because you felt that heat. So even the skin can feel the temperature, it can sense the touch and all that. How? Because thermoreceptors are present in the skin. And then which type of receptor is present in our eye, which can, which is capturing that stimuli, which is helping in the vision, which is helping in the vision? It is optic receptor. And in our ears, which can detect the sound, what is present? There is auditory receptor. So these are the 5 sense organs which has got the respected receptor in them. Now it is important for you all to remember you must remember these receptor, because in NCQ they might ask question from this. Clear? Understood? So now you understood, right, that how our body is detecting the stimuli, how it is actually detecting the stimuli, because there are receptors that are present in the sense organ, and these receptors are sending those signal to the brain, and then brain is sending message. Okay, clear with that? See, now the receptor cell, what does it do? It carry information from the sense organ. It can be eyes, it can be ears, it can be nose, it can be tongue and skin. From the sense organ, what? The receptor cell, they carry information where? To the brain. They are carrying information to the brain. Now, the question is, from the receptor cell, the information is sent to brain, right? So, from the receptor cell to the brain, in between there is a path, right? In that path, who is carrying the information? Who is carrying the information in that particular path, in that particular region? It is neuron. It is neuron which is behaving like a vehicle. What these neurons are also, see, nerve cells are also called as neurons. Okay, I told you that at the tip, see, there are so many neurons. Okay, those neuron which is present at the tip of the skin, tip of the, in the sense organ, in that tip the receptors will be present. That receptor will be connected to the nerve cells. And once the nerve cell receives that signal, in nerve cell, that message is converted to electrical signal, and then it is passed to the brain. Okay, then it is passed to the brain, right? So now what are these neurons? It is a structural and functional unit of brain. What is its function? It will transfer the impulse from outside the environment to the brain or spinal cord. See, always this is the pathway. First there is some change that is happening in our environment, and then what happens is that the receptor will detect the stimuli, and then that is sent to the nerve cells, and then nerve cell, first it goes to the spinal cord, and then from spinal cord it is sent to the brain. See, brain and spinal cord together, it constitutes central nervous system. We will see that as we go further. Now you understood now who is behaving like a vehicle in between the receptor cell and the brain? It is neuron. Neurons are the structural and functional unit of the nervous system. Okay, clear with that? Fine. So now let's see the structure of, so hi student. So in case if I just started the session, I have given introduction and I have started nervous system. You can, watch the session from the beginning. And students, don't worry about the notes. This entire notes will be provided in the PDF format. Okay, once the session is done, the notes link will be provided in the description from, you can download from there. Okay, clear with that? So yeah, was talking about neuron. You understood that neuron is behaving like that vehicle which is transmitting the electrical impulse from the receptor cell to the brain. right. So now let's study about the structure of neuron. So the neuron, you can see this branch like structure over there, that is dendrite. That is called as dendrite. Dendrite is the part in, it is a part in neuron which receives the message, which receives that signal. It receives the information. From where is it receiving? It can be from external environment or from the neuron. See now let's say this is the external environment, okay. So there is one neuron present over here, and again there will be neuron will be bit lengthier, okay, and then it will reach the brain, that is the brain. Okay, so this is external environment. So here there are receptor cell that is present. There is receptor cell that is present at the tip of this neuron. So always this will be dendrite, and then comes the neuron, and it will have nerve ending over here. And then again there is one more dendrite starts from here, and here will be this will be the nerve ending. And then again one more, this body part, and then comes the nerve ending. Okay, that's what they are saying. See here the dendrite, this dendrite, no, it either receives message from the external environment through receptor or from the another neuron. That's what it says over here. That is the functioning of dendrite. Okay, and then there is cell body. See, the cell body's function is, it regulates the activity of neuron. It is just regulating the activity. Okay, and this cell body has got all the cell organelles except centrosome. Okay, and what about axon? See this lengthiest part in the neuron, that part is called as axon. This is called as axon, and you can see that in axon, in between there are some structure that are present. There are some structures which are present throughout the axon. Right now, what is the functioning of axon is nothing but actually it transmits those electrical impulse, and over here it makes sure that the electrical signal must not break, and also it will enhance the speed. And finally there is nerve ending. Nerve ending, it transfers the information to the corresponding neuron, to the next adjacent neuron or to the target organ. Okay, this is all about the structure of neuron. Okay, the structure of neuron can be asked for 3 mark, or else it can be asked in 5 mark also as a sub question. Okay, that time you will have to draw the diagram of neuron neatly and label them properly, and also you will have to add these, you will have to write these points. Okay, clear with that? Fine. And I told you, no, that in axon there are, you can see there are certain structure which is present in between, like this. What are these? These are myelin sheath. What are these myelin sheath? See, these are fats. Okay, this is actually behaving like a insulator. It insulates the axon. Now my question is, why does this myelin sheath has gaps in between? Have you ever wondered that why there is gap in between? And this gap that is present in between, that is called as nodes of Ranvier. Now students, I want you all to guess that why there is gap in between the myelin sheath. Why do you think? And what already I told you that a myelin sheath, it is behaving like a insulation. Right? And you might have thought that, okay, just like that there is a gap. No, even this gap has got particular function to perform. What is it? Come on, comment in the comment section. Let me see now who will say that why there is gap in between. Any guesses, students? Any guesses? See, the explanation is very simple. The gap is present, it's because, see, to make sure when the electrical signal, when it is being transferred through the neuron, see, first the dendrite receives, and one more thing, I would like to add a point over here. See, the dendrite receives the message in chemical form. It will be in the chemical form, and then what happens is that in the dendrite itself, that chemical nature is converted to electrical impulse. and then that electrical impulse is passed through the neuron, and after it reaches nerve ending, over there is synapses. There is a gap that is present between the neurons. It is like the point of communication, wherein there are certain neurotransmitter that will be present. Over there the electrical impulse will be converted to chemical one again. Okay, so the function, what is the purpose of this gap is nothing but these, I told you, the electrical impulse will have to pass through the axon. Those electrical impulse, they must pass continuously, and then they must not break in between, right? And also to enhance the speed, you know, right, if all of a sudden when somebody touches me from behind, immediately I will turn back. That happens within fraction of second. So the speed is very high, Why? Because of the presence of myelin sheath and the nodes of Ranvi. Because of that, I told you in the beginning itself, the nervous system, it involves response which are very faster. Now did you understand that why it is fast? It's because of the presence of myelin sheath, nodes of Ranvi, and also the message is sent in the form of electrical impulse. Because of that. Clear with that, students? Okay. So there is a student who says Hindi mein bolo. Okay, let me make one thing clear. See, this channel is for, for everyone, even for South as well as for North. That's why it is in English. So if you want in Hindi, there is one more channel. I can send you the, we'll provide the link for that as well. Okay? Clear. Fine. So now let's see. Now you understood, right? From where did we start? We started with a nervous system that initially I gave you certain examples that when there is some change in our environment, we respond to that change, right? We are actually responding to the change. How are we responding to that change? See, there are certain receptors that are present in the sensory organ. Those receptors will detect that stimulus and that will be passed to the brain. How? Through neurons. In neurons, that message will be converted to electrical signal, and that electrical impulse will be sent to the brain. Okay. So, okay, there is a student who says what is reflex action. Okay, see, reflex action, it is a immediate response which happens very fastly, and it is involuntary also. Okay, so that is reflex action. So, student, as we go further, I will be explaining about reflex action also in depth with the help of diagrams, right? Before that, let's cover this impulse transmission. How is the electrical impulse transmitted? Where? Through neuron, and how does it reach the brain? We will see that as we go further, right? I told you first what happens, it is transmitted along the neuron and through the nervous system, that is called as impulse. The information that is transmitted through neuron and through the nervous system, that is called as impulse, and it is transmitted in electrical form. I told you, right? And then in between two neurons, I also told you that there will be a gap. That gap is called as synapse. That gap is known as synapse. So synapse, it is like, it is a point of communication between two neurons, or it can be between neuron and the external environment, or between the neuron and the organ, target cell. Like it can be, muscle or glands also. So nothing but it is gap between neuron. So let's see what is happening in this gap. I told you that always when the dendrite receives messages, it will be in chemical form, and in dendrites that chemical form is converted to electrical form, and then the electrical signal will be passed through the neuron, and when it reaches the nerve ending, there is synapses over there. Over there are certain neurotransmitters that are present. Those neurotransmitters play a major role in converting that electrical signal into chemical one, and then again it is sent to the next neuron. Okay, clear with that? Fine. See, like I told you, at the tip, this is how the tip of axon looks like. At the tip, at the axon terminal, there are certain spherical structure that are present. Can you see them? There are certain spherical structure that is present, and in that spherical structure there are certain chemicals. Which are known as neurotransmitter. So example is, it can be acetylcholine or it can be dopamine. Depending upon the type of neuron, it can be acetylcholine, it can be dopamine. These are neurotransmitter. What is their function? What is their function? Their function is to transmit the signal from nerve cell to the target cell. From nerve cell to the target cell, it is transmitting the signal. Okay, so this is your axon terminal. In the axon terminal, I told you now first, the dendrite receives the electrical signal, it receives the message in chemical form, and then in dendrite it is converted to electrical signal. Electrical signal is transmitted through neuron. After it reaches this terminal, over there neurotransmitters are there. Right, they help in transmitting the signal from the nerve cell to the target cell, from nerve cell to the target cell. Right, and always the neurotransmitter will be, you know, it will act like one way valve. See, just like this one, what we saw no in transportation system, wherein the flow of blood will have to be one way. Right, in heart there were 4 chambers and also valves were present. Right, what was the function of those valve? The valve will have to make sure that the flow of blood should be in one direction. Right, similarly in nervous system, that is in neurons, there are synapses. This synapses will make sure that the electrical impulse will have to move in one direction. That's why the neurotransmitters, they are present in one end of the, they will be present in one side of the gap. In that gap, they will be present in one side only. As a result, the nerve impulse can move only in one direction. Okay, clear with this? Clear with that? Yes, there is a student, ma'am, what is involuntary? Involuntary is nothing but, see, you do things without your knowledge. Like you blink eyes, when you blink eyes without your knowledge, right? And when you touch a flame, you take your hand immediately back. Do you think twice before taking your hand back after putting into flame? No, right? You do that immediately, no? And your heart keeps beating. The heartbeat is also involuntary, and then the heartbeat is also involuntary, right? That is also involuntary. Okay, clear with that? As we go further, I will, after completing this, I will tell you the difference between voluntary, involuntary as well as reflex action. Okay, don't worry students, in this particular session, I will be covering entire control and coordination chapter, and also I will allot time for you all so that you can ask doubts and I will clarify doubts. Okay, clear with that? Fine. So now you studied the structure of neuron, we even studied that how the message is transmitted through neuron. Initially it will be in chemical form and then it will be converted to electrical. Why am I repeating this first of all? Because it is very important. So many students, they will get confused that where is that electrical signal getting converted to chemical one, and again when is it getting converted to electrical? The answer is simple. It is getting converted where? In the dendrite itself. First the dendrite receives chemical in the message in the chemical form, and then in the dendrite it will be converted to electrical form. Clear with that students? Clear with that? Okay, fine. So now there are 3 types of neurons that is present in our body. It's sensory neuron, association neuron, and then the motor neuron. See, the sensory neuron, I told you know that, see, there are sensory organs in our body, eyes, nose, tongue, ear, skin and all that. There are receptors that are present. The receptor will detect the stimuli, and then the stimuli will be, the scent, it will be recognized, and then the message will be sent, right, where from through neurons the message will be sent in electrical form, right. So from the sense organ to the brain, what? The electrical impulse will be sent, right. So from the receptor cell to brain, which neuron is present? sensory neuron is present, and after reaching the brain, near brain, brain will send message to the target organ, right? And that target organ, how is message sent from brain to the target organ? It is through motor neuron. So sensory neuron, it is present between the receptor cell, it is present between, see here it is there, receptor cell and the brain, okay? And then the motor neuron, it is present between the brain and the effector organ, brain and the effector organ, okay? Then what about association neuron? What about association neuron? It is like a bridge. It is like the bridge between the sensory neuron and the motor neuron. See students, keep this in mind. Association neuron, I will use this term when we come to the reflex action part. Okay, that I will show you over there that how is this association neuron present, where is this present, how is it acting like a bridge, I will explain that. Okay, clear with that? So in our body there are three types of neuron, that is sensory neuron, which is present between, which carries electrical impulse from sense organ to the brain, and from brain to the target organ, who is carrying the message? It is motor neuron. In between motor neuron and sense neuron, association neuron is present. Association neuron is present. Clear with that? So till now what did we cover? Initially I gave you introduction. I have explained bit in depth only that what is this control and coordination chapter all about, what is happening in this chapter, like how is the organ within our body, the function, how is it getting controlled. Like I told you, it is important that each organ's function should be under control. Only then the organs will coordinate with each other and carry out their function. Only then we can lead a healthy life. And along with that, we even respond to our surrounding, the changes in our surrounding. How are we responding to it? That's where we started talking. That's when we started talking about nervous system and endocrine system, and we started with the nervous system first. Okay, in nervous system we saw that how is that stimuli being captured? How is it getting captured? It is through receptor cells which are present in the sense organ, and that receptor cell will be present at the tip of the neuron. Which neuron? Sensory neuron. Sensory neuron, and then sensory neuron will carry that message to the brain, and then brain will send the message to the target organ through motor neuron, and then we will respond to the situation. Clear with this? Understood? Understood students? Yes. So now we have covered the components of nervous system. Done with introduction part, the control and coordination, and then we understood that what is nervous system, and we understood the difference between nervous system and endocrine system also. I have just given a brief difference. We will study that also in depth as we go further, and then we focused on the components of nervous system. Okay. So now students, till now, do you have any doubts pertaining to control and coordination and the components of nervous system, or transmission of electrical impulse, how is it being transmitted in the neuron? You understood the concept, right, that how that electrical signal is transmitted through neuron. What is the role of synapses? What is the role of synapses and all that? Understood, right? Clear with that? So now I have quiz for you all, a tiny quiz. I want you all to answer to this question. Okay, let's see who will answer first. So the first question is, yes, there is Kyra, someone? Hi, hello, yeah. Can you whisper? It is not, okay. So, and students, I can see some of the students, they are asking about voluntary and involuntary response, right? Don't worry, we'll see that. See, after this quiz, we'll talk about reflex action. After completing reflex action, we'll see the difference between voluntary, involuntary and reflex action also. Okay, so now I want you all to answer to this question. The first question is, see, the central nervous system consists of, option A says brain and spinal cord, option B says spinal cord and sensory nerves, option C says sensory nerves and motor nerves, option D says brain and the motor nerves. What is the right answer? The central nervous system. Central nervous system consists of, any guesses student? I already told you that, see, we human beings, there is central nervous system as well as peripheral nervous system, and I also told you that central nervous system consists of which one? Which one is the right answer? It is option A, brain and spinal cord. See, the central nervous system consists of brain and spinal cord, whereas peripheral nervous system, it has got all the nerves that is coming out of the brain and spinal cord. Okay, clear with that? Fine. Next question. Next question. So, Rohan has got spinal cord injury in an accident. He met with an accident and his spinal cord is injured. Which of the following will get affected in his body? Option A says the communication between the parts of the brain. Option B says the production of hormone and enzymes. Option C says transmission of electrical signal between the brain and the rest of the body. And option D says immunity. So let me help you with this. Option D is ruled out. Immunity is nowhere connected with this. Now I want you all to guess. So there are some students who are saying B, A, okay. There is Vignesh who says C. Yes, Vignesh, option C is the right answer because his spinal cord is injured. From spinal cord there are nerves coming out. That means it will affect the what? Electrical signal, the transmission of electrical signal between the brain and rest of the body part. So option C is the right answer. Okay. So next question. Which of the following statement is correct about receptor? Correct about receptor. Option A says both gustatory and olfactory receptor detect smell. Is it? Does both gustatory and olfactory detect smell? Option B says that the auditory receptor detects smell. Does auditory receptor detect smell? And then it says olfactory receptor detects taste. Is that so? And option C says olfactory receptors detect taste and gustatory receptor detects smell. Whereas option D says that the gustatory receptor detects taste while olfactory receptor detects smell. Which one do you think is the right answer, students? I told you, no, you must be thorough with the receptor. Which receptor is present? Where? In which sense organ? You must know, right? So, Hero says option B. Do you feel option B is right answer? Are you sure with that? Vignesh says option D. So, yes, it is option D is the right answer. Gustatory receptor, it will detect the taste, whereas olfactory, it detects smell. Okay? Clear with that? Fine. So, next question. The structure of neuron that receives information from the receptor cell. So, the structure of neuron which receives the information from the receptor cell, which part is that? Is it axon, or is it neuron, or is it dendrite, or is it cyton? Which one? Which part of the neuron receives the information from the receptor cell? Are you sure, Vignesh? Are you saying is it D? Which one, students? A. Axon. Is axon receiving? No, axon, it is transmitting the electrical impulse. Which part is receiving? I repeated that many times. Which part is receiving the information from the sensory, from the receptor cells? See, it is not axon. Okay. They are asking which part. The answer is dendrite. I told, right, answer is dendrite, option C. See, there is nerve body, right, dendrite is there. Okay, dendrite, there is cell body, axon is there, and then there is nerve ending. Right. So what happens first, the neuron, it receives the message, in the form of, in chemical form, and then that message where dendrite receives it in chemical form, in chemical nature, and then that chemical nature is converted to electrical signal at dendrite itself, and then that chemical signal is transmitted via cell body, axon, and at the tip of the axon, at the axon terminal, there is neurotransmitter that is present, which plays major role in transmitting the signal to the next neuron. And in between there is synapses, which is the gap of which is the point of communication for two neurons, and those two neurons, between the two neurons, and always in the gap, one side the neurotransmitter will be more. Why? So that the flow of these electrical impulse should be in one direction. That is the reason. So option C, dendrite is the one, always dendrite is the one which receives the message. Initially it will be in chemical form, and then it will be converted to electrical signal at dendrite itself. Again, question can be asked like this: where does this electrical signal, where does the message get converted to electrical signal, in which part of the neuron? It is dendrite only. Okay, clear with that? Fine. So now let's move on to next question. What will happen if the motor neurons are damaged? What will happen if the motor neurons are damaged? What did I say? In our body there are three types of neuron: motor neuron, sensory neuron, association neuron. Sensory neuron, it is between the receptor and the brain, whereas motor neuron is between the brain and the target organ or muscle cell, or it can be gland. Right now, if the motor neuron is damaged, then what will happen? Option A says that the information will not be passed from the sense organ to the brain. From sense organ to the brain. Is it? What did I say? Which type of neuron is present between sense organ and the brain? So Vignesh says option B. The information will not be passed from the sense organ to the spinal cord. From the sense organ. Monali says option D. Both A and B. Is it? Are you sure? And option C says information will not be passed from the brain to the muscle or gland. Students, I already told you that neurons, there are three types of neurons in our body. Motor neuron is present between brain and the muscle and glands. And if the motor neuron does not function properly, then what happens? The information will not be passed from the brain to the muscle or glands. See, I told you, students, there are sensory neuron. Sensory neuron, it is between the sense organ to the brain. That is, when at the tip of sense neuron, what is present? Receptors are there. Those receptors will detect the signal. They will detect the signal, and that signal will be sent to the brain. And who carries that signal from the receptor to the brain? It is sensory neurons. Right? And then the brain will send message to the target organ. If, for example, I told you that when you are walking in a road, you are just going by walk, all of a sudden you will hear the dog barking and chasing towards you. Immediately what will you do? You will run. First you heard it and you even saw that. So your eyes and ears, it sent the message to the brain, and then brain sent message to your legs that you will have to run now. So you started running fastly. Right. So who is it? The sensory neuron is present between receptor and the brain, and motor neuron is present between brain and the target organ. It can be muscle, it can be gland. So option C is the right answer. Okay, students, why do you think that majority of the students, I can see they are saying that option B is the right answer? Why do you think so? See, your information will not be passed from sense organ to the spinal cord. See, over there sensory neuron will be responsible, not the motor neuron. And in your question, what will happen if the motor neurons are damaged is the question. Okay, clear with that? So let's move on to the next question. See, the electrical impulse travel in neuron from, see, while explaining the structure of neuron and also while explaining the transmission of impulse, I told you that electrical impulse will move in one particular direction. And who is responsible for making that electrical impulse travel in one direction? It is neurotransmitters that are present and synapses also. Okay. So now what is the sequence electrical impulse from? It starts with dendrite. From dendrite, where will it move? Is it? So I will tell you, I will help you with this. Option B and option C is ruled out. Now your answer is either A or D. So there is Vignesh says D and Pushpa says D, and also it's okay student, if you make wrong also it's okay, fine, you are learning, no, it's okay. Again you don't make that mistake, don't repeat that mistake, okay. So you all are saying option D is the right answer? Yes, it is option D is the right answer. Okay, clear with that? Let's move on to next question. Neurons that carry impulse from the receptor cell to the brain or spinal cord. I told you, just before few minutes I told you, which receptor is that? Which neuron is that carry message from the sense organ to the brain? Okay, so you all are saying option D. Option D. No? Is it option A? Option A says sensory neuron. Option B says motor neuron. Option C says association neuron. Option D says rotator neuron. Rotator neuron. Which one is the right answer? Vignesh, it is not B. I told you no that motor neuron, it is from brain to the spinal cord. Okay. So it is option A. It is sensory neuron. Option A is the right answer. Okay students. So yeah, we are done with that. Now we are getting into reflex action. I know when I started the session, most of the students, they were asking that, ma'am, what is reflex action, what is involuntary and all that. Now we'll talk about reflex action. Right. Now we'll see the difference between reflex action and involuntary response also. Okay, so till now what have we covered? Started with introduction part. Okay, I gave a detailed introduction for this chapter, control and coordination, in order to make you all understand the concept in depth. Right, and then we started with nervous system. You understood what is nervous system, and then we studied about the components of nervous system. After completing the components of nervous system, we even studied how the electrical impulse is transmitted through neurons. Right, after that we did a quiz, and now we are getting into reflex action. What is reflex action? See, reflex action, it is the way we respond. It is a type of response. It is our reaction, the way we react to the situation, to our surrounding environment, the changes in our surrounding environment. What is the difference between, so Vignesh asked that what is the difference between reflex action and reflex arc, right? So see, reflex action is the response that you are providing. It is immediate involuntary response. And that pathway is there, no? That pathway is reflex arc. Okay, that pathway is reflex arc. Okay, clear with that? No, reflex arc and reflex action is not the same, students. You understood the difference? No, reflex arc is the pathway, reflex action is the response. We will see that. I will tell you with the help of diagram. Okay. So now what is happening is that, see, look at this image. Look at this. See, now we are walking bare feet in a forest. All of a sudden, without our knowledge, there is some spiky thing. Without our knowledge, we'll just keep our feet onto that. Maybe there was a nail, you kept your feet onto that nail. All of a sudden, what happens over here, the pressure is too much. So immediately you are just walking, you didn't even realize there was something that was very sharp. Without your knowledge, you kept your feet and immediately you will take and go back. See, well, when you took your leg back, did you think and then did you take, or within a fraction of a second you took it back? See, within a fraction of a second we will fold our leg like this, right? Immediately you will lift it back, right? So that is the immediate response and it is very fast. And in case of involuntary action also, without our knowledge, we are performing certain activity, we are responding to the situation. But then over there, in case of involuntary response, brain is involved. In case of reflex action, brain is not involved. That is one of the major difference. Brain is not involved in case of reflex action. It is the fastest route. It is the fastest route. Yes, there is a student who says reflex action is the sudden response to the surrounding, whereas reflex arc is the pathway. Yes, it is the pathway. And here brain is not involved. Right. So how will you define reflex action? Reflex action is defined as it is immediate involuntary response to the stimulus. Stimulus is nothing but change in your surrounding environment by human being. Right. That is immediate response. Example. In your school also you would have done this to your friends. No? Your friend will be entering into the classroom, you will be behind the door and all of a sudden you will scare and your friend will jump back without their knowledge. Their reflex action is taking place. And all of a sudden you are sitting in a dark room. And suddenly when you get into the light, you will blink your eyes like this. Without your knowledge you are doing it, that too within fraction of second. And also when you touch something hot vessel or when you put your hand to the flame, immediately you will take your hand back. Okay. Now let's say there is a flame over there. I am turning somewhere, that's it. Without my knowledge, I will keep my hand on the flame and without even looking at that, I will immediately take it back and then I will see. Before I look back, I took my hand. So it is that fast. I am not even thinking. Without thinking, I am just taking it so fastly. That is involuntary response which is happening very fastly, and in this response, brain is not involved. That is your reflex action. Okay, and one more thing. All of a sudden you see your favorite dish. It is lunch time and you look at your favorite dish. When you look at your favorite dish, immediately your mouth will start watering. Your mouth will start watering. Right. And then what happens without, is it under your control? Your mouth will start watering. Now when you see pizza, burger or your favorite dish, that is also not under our control. There also reflex action is taking place. So these are some of the example for reflex action. Okay, so now let's see how the reflex action is taking place. Let's see the pathway, and this pathway is called as reflex arc. Okay, so first what happens? There is change in the environment. We will take best example is, we will consider the flame only. You touch the flame, immediately you are taking it back. So first your skin will detect the stimulus, nothing but in skin thermoreceptor is present. That thermoreceptor will detect the change in temperature, and then so that receptor will detect the stimulus and the message is transmitted through sensory neuron, always from the receptor, from sense organ. Before it goes to the brain, it will first go to spinal cord. Over here there is spinal cord and over there is brain. Okay, so what happens? The electrical impulse is transmitted through sensory neuron. First it reaches brain. In case of reflex action, I told you the brain is not involved. Right. Then what happens over here? From the spinal cord. It reaches spinal cord. This is the spinal cord and this is back side of the spinal cord. This is back side and here this coming out is the front side. Okay. Always when the sensory neuron carries electrical impulse, it will reach the back side of the spinal cord. And in case of reflex action, I also told you when I was telling the three types of neurons, there is sensory neuron, motor neuron, associated neuron. Sensory neuron is between the sense organ and the brain, nothing but your central nervous system. And then the motor neuron is between the central nervous system and the target organ. Whereas the association neuron, it acts like a bridge. It acts like a bridge between the sensory neuron and the motor neuron. Clear with that? So now the electrical impulse after reaching the spinal cord, in case of reflex action, before it does not go, the message does not reach the brain. Instead, the association neuron carries that information and that will be sent through motor neuron. So over here it is just the receptor, sensory neuron, spinal cord and motor neuron is involved. It does not go to the brain. Okay. Then motor neuron, what it does is that it will send the message to the target region. It will send message to the target region. Clear with that? Okay, so there is a student who is asking, see this class is going to be for another 1 hour. 1.5 hours, that's it. Okay, yes, you're welcome students, you're welcome. And yeah, and once after completing each topic, I'll provide some time for you all. You can ask your doubts as well. Okay, so in reflex action you understood now what is happening. First, there is a stimuli that is detected by the receptor. Sensory neuron carries that electrical impulse and it will reach the spinal cord where backside. And then from here, instead of going to the brain, it is not, in case of reflex action, it is not going to the brain. Instead, it is sent to the motor neuron. Why? Why do you think so? Why in reflex action brain is not involved? It's because, the answer is simple. It's because, see, in case of the reflex action, it happens only when the situation is very dangerous. Now, for example, I told you, when you put your hand on flame, immediately you should not think twice. Before that only you should take back your hand, or else if you keep your hand, if you wait for the brain to send message, then it will cause more damage. So to prevent that damage, pathway is very fast and it is the shortest pathway, it is the shortest route. Okay, that's why here brain is not involved. Okay, clear with that? So now look at this. This is also example. This is also one of the example for your reflex action. What is happening? See, they are hitting the leg. You would have noticed now, without your knowledge, when someone hits you. Okay, so there is a student. Yes, students. So we have started this channel particularly, see, in English, so that we can target each and everyone. Right? Yes, you can ask doubts. I will provide you time. That time you ask doubt. Okay, after completing each topic, I will ask you that if you all have any question, that time you can feel free to comment in the comment section. Okay, and those students, if you are watching this session after the live, if you are watching the recorded one, that time also you can feel free to comment in the comment section your doubts. I will get back to you. Okay, so now look at this example. What is happening? This person is here. There is some hammer kind of stuff. After hitting the leg, the person immediately lifts the leg upward, that too without his knowledge, right? So what is happening over here? So when he got hurt, there the message is sent through sensory neuron. Why? See, in skin there are certain receptor that is present, right? And this receptor it will send the message to the spinal cord through sensory neuron, and spinal cord immediately it will send back the message to the target region, that is the muscle cell, via motor neuron. And here in between there is association neuron that is present between the sensory neuron and the motor neuron, which is acting like a bridge. And here brain is not involved because here the response has to be very fast to protect ourselves. That is the reason. Okay, and now this entire pathway, in the beginning students were asking that, ma'am, what is reflex action and what is reflex arc? So that entire response is there. No, that response is reflex action. That is the action. That is the response that you are providing. That is how you are reacting to that particular situation. That is the action. Whereas reflex arc is the pathway. That is the pathway. See, it is the shortest route that can be taken by the impulse from receptor to the effector. From receptor to effector, the message is being passed and then the response is sent, and it is the shortest pathway. Why? Because the message is not going to brain. Directly from spinal cord, the response is sent. That's why it is the shortest route. And this pathway is called as reflex arc. Understood the difference between reflex arc and reflex action? Clear with this, students? Okay. Fine. Now this is one more example. Like I told you, when there are nails that are present, by mistake if you step onto them, immediately you will take your leg back. Even over there the reflex action takes place. These are the examples. I have added 2-3 examples so that it will be easy for you all to understand. And like I told you, don't worry about the notes. If you want in between, you can take screenshot, but then that is also not needed because we are providing these notes. All these content will be provided in PDF form after the session gets over, and that link will be attached in the description. From there you can download these notes for free. Okay students, clear with that? Okay, so we are done with reflex action. So now any doubts in the reflex action? Any doubts till now? Any doubts in nervous system or components of nervous system, or do you have any doubts in the way how the electrical impulse is being transmitted, or do you have any doubt in this reflex action? All clear till now? Shall we move forward? Good to go? Good to go? So now I have a quiz for you all. I want you all to answer to this. Okay? So yeah, the first question is reflex arc. Reflex arc is the dash. What is it? What is reflex arc? I was just explaining. Option A says it is the shortest route that can be taken by an impulse from receptor to effector. From receptor to effector. And option B says longest route. Is it longest route? And option C says shortest route that can be taken by an impulse from an effector to receptor. And then option D says it is the longest route that can be taken by impulse from effector to a receptor. So which one do you think is the right answer? Is it longest route or shortest route? I told you it is a pathway, right? Is it longest or shortest? Come on, answer. And students, do you all require 5 minutes break? It's lunch time, right? Do you want break? Or shall I continue further? Before that, we will finish this quiz. And by the end of the quiz, you decide and let me know that do you want break or shall I continue further like this. So yeah, Vignesh says it is option A. Yes, Vignesh, option A is the right answer. Now, let's see next question. Identify the component A, B and C in the given reflex arc. So there is A. So which neuron is this that is present between receptor and the spinal cord, and which neuron is present between the A and B, and which neuron is present between the spinal cord and the effector? Which one? Can you label them? Okay, so there is, okay, you say it is option A. Option A, right? Option A sensory neuron, option B, the B is motor neuron. Yes, option A is the right answer. Yes, students, I'll provide you 5 minutes break. We'll complete this quiz. We'll complete this quiz after that. Okay, so next question. Okay, we are done with the quiz, right? So before getting into this part, let's take 5 minutes break. 5 minutes break. Hi students. So yeah, we took a short break, right? So now let's continue with the concept types of reflex action. So you understood that what is reflex action by now, right? You understood now. So now let's see, there are actually two types of reflex action. There are two types, okay? One is that which is acquired naturally, and the other one is you inculcate that habit through your lifetime, like throughout your lifetime, okay? We'll see that. So the first one is unconditioned or natural reflex, okay? So this is, in birth, it does not require, much of experience or learning. Now for example, like you touch the, look at this image, you touch hot vessel, immediately you take that back, right? So since birth you can feel the heat. If you feel that yes it is burning, then you will take that back. You does not require much of practice or experience for that, right? So that is your unconditioned or natural reflex, right? Whereas the second one is conditioned or acquired reflexes. Whereas conditioned or acquired, it is, it is developed over the period, and it is based on if you would have experienced it, if you would have learnt it, if you would have practiced it, then you will, acquire it. Right now for example, swimming. See, initially if you don't know swimming, and if we if you jump into a pool, do you think you'll be able to swim? You don't know swimming, but do you think you'll be able to swim? Answer is no. Whereas if you practice swimming, if you learn swimming, and then if we throw you into water, then you will be able to swim, right? So that thing is acquired over period, right? And cycling as well as riding two-wheeler or driving car, all these you have learnt, you have acquired it, right? So clear whether these are the two types of reflexes. Over here you do not require, it is immediate, it is happening. Swimming, it is happening immediately, you need not have to think much. So all these are also type of reflexes. So there are two types, one is the conditioned one, and the other one is unconditioned or natural reflex. Unconditioned or natural reflex, and the other one is conditioned or acquired reflex. Okay, clear with that? Fine. So the differences between the natural or as well as the conditioned reflex, this can be asked for 2 mark. Mostly they might not ask because there are other important topics from this particular chapter. Even if they ask, they might ask for 2 mark, okay? Like I told you, see here, in case of natural or simple reflex, you does not require previous experience, okay? Whereas when it comes to continuous or acquired reflex, over here what happens? It is developed over period, right? And then in case of this natural reflex, what happens? Here it is directly related to the stimuli. There must be some stimulus, like I told you, hot vessel, right? Whereas in case of this, it does not require any stimulus. It is, it is brought about by a condition which is totally different from stimulus. It is brought about, you are bringing that condition, you are bringing that situation, right? And then here it is similar in all human beings. This, it is, this is, it is natural, right? And it is similar in every living organism, human beings. Whereas when it comes to conditioned reflex, see here it is, based, it differs from individual to individual, right? It is based on your experience. It is based on if you have learned that or not, if you have practiced that or not, based on that, okay? So these are the differences between the natural and the conditioned reflex, okay? Clear with that? So like I told you, I had told you, right, that I will explain the difference between voluntary, involuntary and reflex action, right? In your examination, even if they ask differences, they will ask from this part, involuntary and the reflex action, okay? They might ask for 3 mark, right? Like I told you, voluntary, here it is not automatic. You think and it is under your control. It is based on your willpower. So it is not automatic, whereas here you do not require much of thinking, but then over here brain is involved. You do this unknowingly, but then your brain is involved. Whereas in case of reflex action, like I told you, again here you are doing it without your knowledge, and the response is very fast. And the response is very, very fast in case of reflex action, and over here spinal cord is involved and the brain is not involved. So good afternoon everyone. Right? So in case of voluntary action, which part of the brain is involved? It is cerebrum. In case of involuntary, which part of brain is involved? It is medulla oblongata. And in case of reflex action, what is involved? It is spinal cord and it is not brain. That is the main difference between the involuntary action and reflex action. Both are involuntary. Only thing is here brain is involved. In case of reflex action, spinal cord is involved. That's why over here the response is very fast when you compare with the involuntary action. Clear with that? And here the voluntary action will be slow, whereas involuntary is fast, and reflex is, it is very sudden and super fast. It is very sudden and super fast. Example for voluntary action is walking, right? And involuntary is heartbeat, and then the reflex action, it is touching a hot pan. Touching a hot pan. Okay, clear with this? Understood the difference between reflex action and the involuntary response? Understood, right? Till now we have covered introduction part, we studied nervous system, the components of nervous system, we spoke about the types of responses also. Clear with that? Okay. So now let's move on to human nervous system. See, human nervous system, it consists of central nervous system as well as peripheral nervous system. So now we will be studying about both central as well as peripheral nervous system. Okay, your central nervous system consists of brain and spinal cord, whereas peripheral nervous system consists of motor neurons and sensory neurons, motor division and the sensory division. See, the motor neuron is nothing but here motor neuron, it controls the external organs. Okay, whereas see, sensory neuron, it controls the external organs, whereas motor neuron, it controls the muscular movement and all that. Okay, clear with that? We'll study about each one in depth now. First we'll start with the central nervous system, and like I told you, a central nervous system has got brain and spinal cord. Okay, clear? So now the brain, it is protected by skull. It is protected by skull, which is called as cranium, a bony substance that is called as cranium, and again below that, within that bony substance, there are some layers of membrane. There are certain 3 layers of membrane that protects the brain, and that membrane is called as meninges, and in between meninges there are some empty space. That empty space is filled by a fluid. That fluid is called as cerebrospinal fluid. So these 3, that is cranium, meninges, cerebrospinal fluid, all these are protecting our brain. All these are protecting our brain. Okay, this cerebrospinal fluid, it protects our brain from the mechanical shocks. Okay, and then the meninges and cerebrospinal fluid, it also protects our spinal cord. See, the brain and spinal cord is connected. Brain and spinal cord is connected. The spinal cord, it continues from the brain only. We will see from which part of the brain the spinal cord comes out. Okay, so the brain is protected by cranium, meninges, cerebrospinal fluid, whereas spinal cord is protected by meninges and cerebrospinal fluid. Along with that, there is also a type of bone that protects the spinal cord, that is vertebral column. That is vertebral column. Okay, clear with that? Fine. And then peripheral nervous system. See, the peripheral nervous system, it includes nerves. It includes nerves which is coming out of the brain as well as the one that is coming out of the spinal cord. Okay, the nerves that is coming out of the brain, they are called as cranial nerves, and the nerves coming out of the spinal cord, they are called as spinal nerves. Okay, in our body there are 12 cranial nerves, 12 pair of cranial nerves, and then 31 pair of spinal nerves. So this is our human nervous system. Okay, clear with that? Now let's talk about brain. Let's talk about brain. See, the structure of brain, till now they have not asked based on the diagram and all that. Instead they have asked about the parts that are present in diagram and what is the function of that particular part in the diagram. That is important. Focus on that, what are the parts that are present in the brain and what is the function of that particular part. That is important. Okay, clear with that? So we'll start with the brain. So what is the functioning of brain? See, the brain, it is like, I told you, it controls each and every organ that is present in our body, each and every response that we, each and every response that we give to the stimulus or else the changes that is occurring in our surrounding, that response is also controlled by brain. Your face expression, your reaction, your way of talking, everything is controlled by brain. So brain's function is thinking, sensing, emotions, and also behavior, movement, everything is controlled by brain, right? Okay, so the brain, it is grayish in color. It is grayish in color and it is protected by a skull cavity which is called as cranium. It is a bony structure. It is a hard bony structure that protects the brain. That protects the brain, right? It is cranium. And then I told you that there are certain membranes that are present below the skull which is also protecting the brain. That is meninges. That is meninges. So what is the functioning of meninges? What is the functioning of meninges? Okay, there is a student who asks what is the difference between endocrine and exocrine. See student, I will be, after this human nervous system, I will be moving on to the endocrine system only. Okay, now let me tell you endocrine system. See over here, exocrine, after endocrine system here, after the hormones are secreted, they will be immediately pushed into the bloodstream. Whereas exocrine system, what happens once a fluid or hormone is released, that will be released onto the surface of particular region. Okay, as of now you understand this. As we go further, I will be dealing with that endocrine and exocrine in depth. Okay, clear with that? So now let's talk about this. We'll cover this topic. Okay, so now the meninges, it provides, what is the functioning of meninges? It provides support. It provides a supportive framework for cerebral as well as cranial vasculature. Okay, along with that, it protects our central nervous system. It protects our central nervous system from mechanical damage. It also protects our central nervous system from the mechanical damage. Okay, and then the space between the covering membrane is filled with a watery fluid. I told you it is filled with a watery fluid that is called as cerebrospinal fluid. See, cerebrospinal fluid, it is protecting our brain from the mechanical shock and all that, from the damage and all that. Along with that, it also helps in the exchange of material. It also helps in the exchange of materials and provides nourishment to the brain. It also provides nourishment to the brain. Okay, clear with that? So now let's talk about the parts that are, different parts that are present in the brain and also their function. We'll see their function. Okay, so the first, we'll see the brain, it is divided into three parts: forebrain, midbrain and hindbrain. Forebrain, midbrain and hindbrain. We'll study about each part. Again, in forebrain there are different parts. Okay, the forebrain has three main regions. Okay, one is cerebrum, thalamus and hypothalamus. Cerebrum, thalamus and hypothalamus. Okay, so here the cerebrum, see here the forebrain consists of cerebrum which makes 85% of the brain, it is the largest part. Cerebrum is the largest part of the brain and it has got two hemispheres. It has got two hemispheres, left hemisphere and right hemisphere. Both this left hemisphere and right hemisphere, it is connected by bunch of tissue. It is connected by bunch of tissue which is called as corpus callosum. Okay, fine. And then here this is a grey matter. It is a highly developed cortex. Which enables us, what is the functioning of cerebrum? It enables us to think, reason out, invent, plan and memorize as well. So the cerebrum is, it is a site of, it is a seat of intelligence, consciousness as well as willpower. Okay, and in this cerebrum there are actually four lobes. Namely frontal lobe, parietal lobe, temporal lobe and occipital lobe. These lobes are responsible for detecting some vision, smell, pressure and also movement. Okay, clear with that? This is all about your cerebrum. Okay, clear? And then also the cerebrum. Below the cerebrum there is thalamus. Okay, the thalamus, it is wrapped by the cerebrum. Okay, what is the function of this thalamus? See, it is present, the thalamus is present between cerebrum and hypothalamus. Okay, so here what is it doing? It is behaving like, it is a center. It is a center for sensory and motor signaling. So all the sensory and motor signaling, it is behaving like a relay between the cerebrum and the hypothalamus. And the thalamus, it relay pain, pressure, impulse to the cerebrum. That is the functioning of thalamus. Clear with that? And then comes your hypothalamus. Hypothalamus, it is present below the thalamus. It is present below the thalamus, this tiny region. Now what is the functioning of hypothalamus? What is the functioning? The thirst that you feel. Sometimes you feel thirsty, right? And then at times you feel hunger, and sometimes your body, you might feel shivering, you might get chills, you might feel very hot when the temperature is very high, right? All that temperature, body temperature, your cravings for a particular food, your thirst, everything is controlled by hypothalamus. Everything is controlled by hypothalamus. Okay, so there is a student who is asking about reflex arc. So I have already explained about reflex action and reflex arc and all that just before 30 minutes. So you can just go back and check that in the same video. Okay, fine. So all these are controlled by, all these thirst, body temperature, hunger, everything is controlled by hypothalamus. Okay, and also the forebrain. So that is all about your forebrain. Forebrain has got three regions: cerebrum, thalamus, hypothalamus. Cerebrum's function is, it is related to your intelligence, thinking, reasoning out and all that, your consciousness, that is controlled by cerebrum. And then thalamus is present between cerebrum and the hypothalamus, and it is acting like a relay, right? And it signals that pain, pressure, such type of messages. And then hypothalamus, it is controlling the thirst, hunger and also your body temperature. Okay, so these three are the main region that is present in the forebrain. And also you would have noticed, right, when you during your Diwali, you all will play with this, right, in a circular motion. When you turn this sparkle in the circular motion, after some time you will notice the circle that is formed, right, the imaginary circle that is formed when you turn that sparkle round, right. So that is actually because of that circle is created, it is because of the forebrain. And also all of a sudden, if you are sitting in a dark room and all of a sudden when you enter into the brighter region, immediately you will blink like this, right. All this is controlled by forebrain. All this, it is controlled by forebrain. Okay, clear with that? See, like I told you, when I am talking about, when you are studying about brain, see, in your examination mostly they will ask questions like this. They will ask the parts and which part, what is the function of that particular part, the functioning of that part. Okay, clear? And so we are done with forebrain, and now moving on to the midbrain. So here in midbrain, it connects the forebrain with hindbrain. So again the midbrain is present between the forebrain and hindbrain, right? And then it is like it is behaving like a bridge, and it also transmits the signal. It also transmits the signal from hindbrain and midbrain. It is present in between. Again, this is behaving like a relay which transmits the signal between hindbrain and forebrain. Okay, clear with that? Fine. And what is midbrain responsible for? What is its function? See, midbrain, now it is like it does those activity which does not require thinking, which does not require much of brain's activity, right? Which is not controlled by brain. Those activities which are not that much controlled by brain. Simple activities like just blinking your eyes, and also when you sit on a chair, sometimes you might feel like, turning and all that, you feel like moving and all that. See, moving a chair, blinking your eyes and pulling your hand back from hot vessel and all that, that is controlled by your midbrain. That is controlled by midbrain. Okay, so quiz master, hi quiz master. Right, and then the regulation of body temperature, the release of hormone, it is also controlled by midbrain. Okay, so now you understood where is midbrain located and what are the functions of midbrain. Clear with that? Understood? Fine. And now we will talk about hindbrain and spinal cord. After covering this, we will be done with the central nervous system. Okay. So now we will talk about hindbrain. Again, just like your forebrain, the hindbrain also consists of three main parts. One is cerebellum, pons and medulla. Again, each one is involved in performing particular function. Okay. So, the cerebellum, it is like a tiny brain. It is like a tiny brain which is smaller. See, can you see, this is the cerebellum and which is located closer to this forebrain region. That is large cerebellum, right? It is located near the cerebellum. Now, what is the function of cerebellum? So, the cerebellum is located near the cerebrum and it is also considered as a little brain. Okay. So, cerebellum, it is a part of your hindbrain. Fine. Now, what is the functioning of cerebellum? It is involved in, like, when you walk on a straight line, you should be conscious, right, that yes, you will have to walk on that straight line only, you will have to move in that path. And also riding bicycle, or when something falls down and you immediately bend to pick that thing up, all that is controlled by cerebellum. All that is controlled by cerebellum. Okay, clear with that? And then medulla oblongata. Medulla oblongata is the lowest portion of the brain, that is the lowest portion of the brain which is located at the base of the skull, This is medulla oblongata, and from this medulla oblongata only the spinal cord comes out, and it is triangular in shape, Okay. Yes, student, the reflex action is controlled by midbrain. Okay, most of the reflex, it is controlled by midbrain. Okay, so this is about medulla oblongata, from which the spinal cord comes out. So, what is the function of medulla oblongata? See here, it controls all involuntary action like the blood pressure, salivation, vomiting, all these are controlled by medulla oblongata. Okay, so when you are studying about the brain, you must first learn the different parts that are present in brain: forebrain, midbrain, hindbrain. Forebrain has got 3 regions, again hindbrain has got 3 more regions, and you must explain the functioning of those regions, its location as well as functioning. That is very important from this brain part, from the brain topic. Okay, where is this pons located? It is located below the cerebellum, and it acts like a relay between the cerebellum and the forebrain. Okay, that is very important. What is very important? Location, where the naming of that particular part, it falls under which part of the brain, its location and its function. It is the respiratory center of the brain. It is the respiratory center of the brain. Okay, clear with that? And then we will talk about spinal cord. That was all about your brain. And again, spinal cord, like I told you, from medulla oblongata, it is extending out. It is long, right? It is very long, thin, tubular like structure, which is made up of nervous tissue. It is made up of nervous tissue only, and then which extends from medulla. From medulla oblongata, it is extending to the lumbar region of the vertebral column, Okay, this is the lumbar region of the vertebral column. Fine. And students, yeah, see, reflex action is not only the spinal cord is involved. See, I told you there are some of the involuntary action. There are some of the, that time, it's because of when I was explaining, you asked me in between the doubt. That's why I told you like that. See, the reflex action, here brain is not involved. Here brain is not involved, only spinal cord is involved. See, whereas involuntary, there are certain involuntary actions that where the brain is involved, right? Those are that involuntary action where the brain is involved. So, the involuntary action is this performed by midbrain, most of the involuntary action. I didn't tell reflex action. Reflex action, over there brain is not involved. I have explained you when I was doing that reflex action. Okay. So, yeah, now talking about spinal cord, you understood where is it located. It is extended till lumbar region of the vertebral column. Okay, clear with that? Fine. And then the spinal cord, what is it doing? It connects the nervous system of the body to the brain, and also it acts as a coordinating center between the brain and the muscles of the thoracic region and limbs. muscles of the thoracic region and lymph. Okay, clear? I told you, no, from this spinal cord the nerves are arising out, okay, which will be in contact with the other organs in our body. Okay, students, clear with that? Okay, so that was all about your central nervous system. So now I have got quiz for you all. I want you all to answer to these questions. Okay, so the first question is, see, the cerebrospinal fluid helps to provide nutrients to the brain. Option B says protects the brain from injury. Option C says exchanges material. Option D says all of the above. So what is the function of cerebrospinal fluid? What is the function of cerebrospinal fluid? What is the function of cerebrospinal fluid, students? I told you, see, it provides nutrients to the, does it provide nutrient to the brain? Does it protect the brain from injury? Does it help in exchanging the material? Yes, it does all these functions. I told you, right? So, option D is the right answer, right? And then what is the function of cranium? Cranium is the bony substance, right? What is it doing? Is it protecting the spinal cord, or does it protect the brain, or is it relaying the information from brain to the spinal cord, or does it is it involved in conduction of reflex action? So you are saying that what, option D is not the right answer? Option D is not the right answer. Student, as we go further, again I still didn't complete the peripheral nervous system. We will talk about spinal cord in depth. Over there I will tell you which all are the cavities that is involved. Okay, so option B, yes, option B is the right answer. Okay, fine, let's move on to the next question. See, moving a chair, blinking eyes, pulling back of hand on touching a hot object are controlled by, these are involuntary action, right? These are involuntary action, right? And one more thing, students, see, pulling back of hand on touching the hot object, that falls under reflex action. That falls under reflex action. So let me remove this from this question. It is moving a chair, blinking of eyes. Okay, there are certain things. So which one do you think is the right answer? So option B. Yes. No, it's not option B, students. It's not option B. Which one do you think is the right answer? It's not option. It is not cerebellum. It's not hypothalamus. Which one do you think is the right answer? It is option C, midbrain. I told you, no, midbrain is the right answer. See, midbrain, it is involved in involuntary. It is involved in involuntary responses, whereas, yes, see, this pulling back of hand on touching a hot object, this is it is a type of reflex action. It is a type of reflex action. Reflex action. It is a type of reflex action, and then the reflex action here, brain is not involved, only spinal cord is involved. Okay, clear with that? Fine. Next question, which part of the brain the spinal cord originate from? So which part of the brain is it? Is it option A, medulla, or is it option B, cerebellum, or is it option C, pons, or is it cerebrum? Which one? Which part of the brain the spinal cord originates from? See, it is not cerebellum. It's not option C. So, yes, option A, medulla oblongata is the right answer. Medulla oblongata is the right answer. Okay. Next question. A drunk person, he walks, I told you that a person walking on a straight line, that is controlled by which part of the brain? See, do you think a drunk person, he walks on a straight line? No, right? So which part of the brain is involved over here? Is it medulla or cerebrum or option C or option D? It is cerebellum, which is a part of your hind brain, which is a part of your hind brain. Okay? Fine. So that was all about here. We started with central nervous system, wherein we covered brain and we have covered brain and spinal cord. Right? So we will be continuing with peripheral nervous system, wherein we will study a bit about spinal cord also as we go further. Okay, and we will study about the nerves that is coming out of spinal cord. Okay, so the peripheral nervous system, it includes nerves which is branched out from brain and the spinal cord. Okay, clear? So what is the function of peripheral nervous system in our body? What does it do? See, it connects the central nervous system. It connects the central nervous system to the organs, lymph and skin. It connects the central nervous system to the organs, lymph and skin. And what about, it also carries sensory and motor information to and from the central nervous system. Okay, and then it also allows the brain and spinal cord to receive and send the information to other areas of the body. Clear? And then it also regulates some of the involuntary functioning in our body. Okay, clear with that? Fine. So now the peripheral nervous system, it can be divided into somatic nervous system and autonomic nervous system. It is divided into somatic nervous system and autonomic nervous system, and I told you the nerves that are coming out of peripheral nervous system is two types. One, those nerves that is coming out of brain, they are called as cranial nerves, and those nerves that is coming out of the spinal cord, that is spinal nerve. That is spinal nerve, right? Okay. So now let's study about cranial nerve. And one more thing, students, your exam point of view, you need not have to remember about all these nerves. Okay, if you just remember that how many pairs of cranial nerve is present and how many pairs of spinal nerve is present, that is more than enough. That is more than enough. Okay, there are 12 pairs of cranial nerve and then there are 31 pairs of spinal nerve. And what is the functioning of cranial nerve? It is a combination of sensory nerves as well as motor nerves. It is the combination of sensory as well as motor nerves. Okay, clear with that? And then talking about the spinal nerves, how many pairs of spinal nerves are there? There are 31 pair, and there are 31 pair, and student, this is the length of your spinal cord also. There was a student who was asking what is the length of spinal cord? This is the length of the spinal cord, wherein you, if you want to mention, you will have to mention that cervical nerves, there are C1, it is from C1 to C8, and then thoracic nerve is from T1 to T12, and then lumbar nerves is from L1 to L6, and then sacral nerve is from S1 to S6, and finally there is one more, that is CO1. Okay, clear with that? So how many pairs of spinal nerves are there? 31 pairs of spinal nerves are present. Okay, clear with that? And next, autonomic nervous system. See, the autonomic nervous system, it is responsible for controlling involuntary activities of the internal organ. So within our body also, for example, heartbeat, your digestion. During digestion is also the food particulate moves right from your buccal cavity throughout your digestive system. Even over there, the movement is involuntary. And then your energy level, the fluid level, breathing, everything, over there, the movement is involuntary, right? That is controlled by autonomic, the involuntary movements. They are of the internal organ. Of the internal organ is controlled by autonomic nervous system. Okay. So now the chain of ganglion that runs along the spinal cord. Okay. And one more thing here, the involuntary action, I told you now it is controlled by autonomic nervous system, right? Now this autonomous nervous system are of two types. One is sympathetic and the other one is parasympathetic. See, sympathetic nervous system, what it does is, it increases the speed. Whereas parasympathetic, it will calm you down. Clear? And here see the sympathetic, what does it do? When you run fastly, your heart it starts beating very fastly, right? The heartbeat, the rate of heartbeat is increased. So that is under parasympathetic nervous system, that is controlled by parasympathetic nervous system, whereas that is controlled by sympathetic nervous system, whereas sympathetic nervous system, it calms you down. For example, when you sleep, the breathing rate and the heart rate, it slows down when you sleep. So here it is calming down the activity, it slows down the activity, whereas sympathetic, it increases the speed of that particular activity. Clear with that? Okay, so that was all about your peripheral nervous system. So now I've got quiz for you all. Try to answer to these questions. There are dash pair of cranial nerves. See, like this, from your cranial nerve and spinal nerves, you need not have to remember the names of those nerves. Only thing that you will have to remember is the number of pairs that are present. Okay, like that. So from that cranial nerve and spinal nerve, you will hardly get MCQ question. You might not get from that also. It is mostly like this. Okay. So how many pairs of cranial nerves are present? Is it 10, 12, 14 or 20? Is it 10, 12, 14 or 20? Any guesses? It is 12, right? Okay. Next one, select the correct statement. So over here there are 4 statements are given. From this you will have to choose the correct one. The first statement says that swimming skills develop during the lifetime due to experience or learning. So what do you think about this statement? It is true, right? We gradually learn swimming. It's not like by birth. When we are born, we will not be knowing how to swim or how to ride bicycle and all that. We learn them gradually, right? So here the swimming skill, it develops during the lifetime due to the experience of learning. Yes, that's a correct statement. And then statement 2 says driving skill, it requires no previous experience or learning. Is this statement true or false? The driving skill, does it require learning or not? See, without learning, can we ride bicycle or two-wheeler? Is that possible? No, right? So, this is false. And statement 3 says that the pathway of transmitting signal from receptor to muscle is a reflex action. Right? So, signal from receptor to muscle, directly from the receptor to muscle is a reflex action. Right? Yes, in reflex action, brain is not involved like I told you, right? So, this is true. What about 4th statement? See, the sudden action in response to something in the environment is called as reflex action. Yes, this is also true. So, the only statement that is wrong over here is 2nd statement. Sir, option A says both A and second one is true. No. Whereas option B says 2, 3 and 4. No, 2 is not right. So, this is also not the right option. Whereas option C says 1 and 4 alone. Even 3rd one is also right option. So, option D is the right answer. Option D is the right answer. Okay, clear with that? Fine. Now, see, we are almost done with the nervous system. Right, I told you, in our body, the functioning of the organ is under control, right, so that those organs can coordinate with each other and perform particular function, right. And I also told you that in our surrounding there are so many changes that will be taking place, and our body responds to each and every changes that is happening in our surrounding, right. So, who is it that is causing that changes? Who is that is present in our body, that is controlling our reaction, that is making us responding to that situation, and that is controlling our organs so that they coordinate with each other? It is nervous system and endocrine system, I told. So, nervous system, it is brain and spinal cord. Nervous system, brain, you studied, right? It has got peripheral nervous system as well as central nervous system. Your central nervous system is brain and spinal cord, and the peripheral nervous system is the nerves that is arising out of the spinal cord. Right? Okay, clear with that? But then this nervous system has got some of the limitations. It's because of these limitations, and to overcome these limitations, our body has got endocrine system also. It has got endocrine system as well. So what are those limitations of nervous system? We'll see that, and this is again, it can be asked for 3 mark. The limitations of nervous system. Okay, the first one is, see, I told you, that messages, how are they transferred through neurons? They are transferred in electrical form, in electrical nature, right? So here the electrical impulse, the disadvantage is that they will not reach only to those cells. See, they cannot reach each and every cell. They will reach only to those cells that are connected to the nervous tissue, and the nervous tissue is not connected to every parts in our body. So those electrical impulse cannot reach each and every tissue. That is one disadvantage. And second disadvantage is that, second limitation is that, see, after generation and transmission of an electrical impulse, the cells take some time to reset its mechanism before transmitting another impulse. So cells cannot continuously create and transmit impulse. That is your second limitation. So this is about the limitation that occurs in human body. Okay, limitation that occurs in humans. What about plants? See, I told you plants, they don't have any organs, they don't have nervous system. So over there only endocrine system comes into picture. Only hormones play major role. That plants do not have nervous system. That's why hormonal coordination takes place in plant as well. Okay, understood? So now to overcome these limitations of nervous system, endocrine system comes into picture. Right? So now let's study about the hormonal coordination in human beings. So now we are left with hormonal coordination, wherein in human beings, wherein we'll be studying about endocrine system. Right? We'll study about glands, the endocrine glands, which gland is secreting which hormone, and what is the function of those hormones. We will study that. And finally, we'll be focusing on plant hormones, and also we'll study the movement in plants. So we are left with these 3 topics now. Okay, so we'll start with hormonal coordination in humans. So now, like I told you, see, hormones, these are, what are these? These are chemical messenger. These are chemical messenger, and it is secreted by particular gland. See, within our body there are so many glands that are present. Each gland, it secretes particular hormone, and that hormone is very specific, that it exerts, it functions only on target organs. Okay, it is very specific to the target organ. We will see that as we go further. Okay, clear with that? Fine. And here a gland. What is a gland? See, it is an organ in our body. See, you see this endocrine system even in animals also. But then in your syllabus you have human beings and plants. So just like how the glands are present in human beings, similarly even animals have those glands. Okay. So these glands, what are they doing? They are secreting particular hormone. I told you that there are so many glands in our body. Each gland secretes particular hormone only. Here one gland is not secreting every hormone. Instead, for each hormone there is a gland that is present, and that hormone is also very specific when it comes to its functioning. It will perform only on target organs only. Okay. Fine. So now there are 2 types of glands that are present which secretes hormone. One is endocrine gland and the other one is exocrine. So what are all the endocrine glands? See, hypothalamus, actually that will stimulate the pituitary gland. Okay, and then there is pineal gland, thyroid gland, there is thymus, there is adrenal gland, and then there is pancreas, there is ovaries, and then there is testis. Ovaries in female and testis in male. Okay, clear with that? And then the endocrine gland, what are they doing? They secrete hormone, and that hormone, that secreted hormone will be, they are gutless. They don't have, they are ductless. They are ductless glands, okay? And then this hormone, it will be released directly into the bloodstream. Okay, and then it will flow through the bloodstream and then it will reach the target organ where it will exert its function. Okay, clear with that? Fine. And also we human beings have exocrine glands also. Like I told you, see, exocrine glands, here what happens is that the hormone that is secreted, no, the whatever substance it releases, here in exocrine gland, those fluid will not get into bloodstream. Instead, they will be exerted on the surface of particular region. Now, for example, in our digestive system only, look at saliva, salivary amylase. See the salivary gland, what was happening in our mouth? See, when we eat food, the food gets mixed with the saliva. Right, saliva has got salivary amylase. Saliva has got salivary amylase. Right, that salivary amylase was acting upon the starch that was present in the food. So now the saliva was directly secreted onto the surface of the cavity. It didn't get mixed with the blood, right? So in case of exocrine gland, the whatever fluid that is secreted, that will not get mixed into the blood. It will not be poured into the bloodstream. Instead, they will be released out. It will be released onto the surface. Example, it can be sweat, tears, saliva or milk or digestive juice, all these. They fall under exocrine gland. And now in this chapter we will be studying about endocrine glands. Okay. So now you will have to learn the difference between endocrine and exocrine as well, as this can be asked for 2 mark. Okay. Endocrine, these are duct-less gland, whereas exocrine, they do have duct. Okay. And then they pour the secretion directly into the blood, whereas here it is not. It is outside the body. Example is pituitary gland, adrenal gland, testes and ovaries. Whereas exocrine, example is sweat gland, sebaceous glands. Okay. So you understood the difference between endocrine and exocrine gland? Clear with that? Okay. Fine. So now let's study the properties of hormone. Like I told you, hormones, they are, after they are secreted, they are directly poured into the bloodstream and they act on target organ only and they are very specific, right? And then third point is they are produced in smaller quantities. They are produced in smaller quantities only, and then once its function is done, once the hormone's function is done, then it is thrown out of the body. It is excreted out once its function is done. And one more thing, always the hormone will have to be secreted in proper amount. It should not be excess also and it should not be less also. Okay, if it is excess also, it causes disorder. Even if it is less, it causes deficiency. Okay, so always it will have to be in optimal amount only. Okay, clear with that? So now let's see the difference between hormonal control and nervous control. Like I told you, nervous system, it is involved in faster response, whereas your endocrine system, it involves slower response, right? And mostly the endocrine system, it controls the organ that is present within our body, whereas nervous system, it was mostly controlling the way we react to our external stimuli. For that, nervous system was involved. And like I told you, here the nervous system, it acts, it is immediate and it is very fast, it is rapid. Whereas hormonal, it is very slow. Okay, and it is poured directly into the bloodstream. Which one? Hormone is poured directly into the bloodstream. Whereas nervous, here it is transmitted through neuron in the form of electrical impulse. Okay, and then it acts only on particular muscle or organ. I told you, the hormone's functioning is very specific. It functions only on particular organ, particular muscle cells. Okay, and here it affects different organ. It's not particular, whereas nerval control is not particular, whereas hormonal control is very specific. Okay, and the effect is short term. It can be short term also, it can be long term also, the effects of hormone. Whereas when it comes to nerves, the effect is short lived. Okay, and then here it can affect the growth. Hormonal control, it can affect the growth, whereas nervous control, it cannot affect the growth. It cannot affect the growth. Like I told you in the beginning itself, I gave you an example, no, that the growth is controlled by hormone. There are growth hormone that is released that controls the growth. So over here the effect is long lasting, and then the growth also, it happens gradually, right? It is very slow, right? Okay, clear with that? So till now, any doubts, students, related to your, nervous system, human nervous system? Now we have started with endocrine system. Now let's talk about, see, from this endocrine system, they will ask you about the hormone, which gland is secreting that hormone, and where is that gland present, and what is the functioning of that hormone. That is what will be asked from this endocrine system. Clear? See, always, first what happens is that I told you, endocrine, there are so many glands, and then those glands will release hormone, I told you. And then when I was explaining the properties of those hormones, I also mentioned that the hormones will be secreted in smaller amount. They will be secreted in smaller amount, and then after its function is done, then it will be released out. Right. So now the secretion should be less, it should be optimal. Even if it is too less or if it is too high, it will cause disorders and deficiencies also, I told you. So therefore, controlling the release of hormone and stopping the release of hormone, there is someone that is controlling. Who is it? It is hypothalamus. Okay, hypothalamus we studied, it is below the thalamus and just above the brain stem. Right, what is it doing? It synthesizes and secretes certain neurohormones. Those neurohormones will trigger the pituitary hormone, and then the pituitary hormone, it will release certain substances that will go and activate the particular gland to release the hormone. Understood? So hypothalamus, it will activate pituitary, and then the pituitary is there, that is like the master gland, which controls other gland, which is controlling other endocrine glands. Okay, so here it releases two types of hormone. It can be releasing hormone and inhibiting hormone. Two types of hormone, releasing and inhibiting, right? It either, so first hypothalamus, if it releases releasing hormone, then that will activate pituitary hormone, pituitary gland, and then pituitary gland will activate other gland which is required in that particular time. And then when it is time to off the other gland, that time inhibiting hormones are released by hypothalamus. That inhibiting hormone will inhibit the pituitary. When pituitary is inhibited, the release of hormone by the other glands will be stopped. That is how the endocrine glands are under the control of pituitary, and that is how the pituitary gland is under the control of hypothalamus, which is located in the brain. Understood? Clear with this concept? Do you have any doubts, students? Any doubts? Okay, we'll move further. So now the master gland. Pituitary gland is called as the master gland, right, which controls the activity of all other endocrine glands of the body, right. The location is below the, where is it located? It is located below hypothalamus, and function is the secretion of growth hormone. Okay, it will secrete growth hormone, and then which is responsible for the growth and overall development of the organism, right. And individual's height is also, it is dependent on the growth hormone, is also dependent on growth hormone. If when the growth hormone is, if it is secreted larger in amount, if it is secreted more or secreted less, see, if it is secreted less, it causes hyposecretion, dwarfness when it is secreted less, and then if it is more in adult, then it causes acromegaly, and in case if secretion is more in children, then it causes gigantism. Okay, clear with that? Fine. And then thyroid gland, the location of thyroid gland, where is it located? In the neck region. It is attached to the windpipe. Okay, the function is the secretion of thyroid hormone. It is the secretion of thyroxine hormone. Okay, what is the function of thyroxine? Thyroxine, it controls the metabolism in tissue. It controls metabolism in tissue and thus controls the growth. Even this controls the growth directly or indirectly. Your thyroxine also controls the growth, and also it influences the bone's ossification and then the formation of the bone. It also maintains the body temperature and also maturation of the brain. Okay, and then the iodine is very much important for the normal rate of hormone synthesis in the thyroid. Okay, and then the thyroxine hormone, here the consumption of iodine in a diet, it helps in synthesizing thyroxine hormone. But then for the people who are living in hilly area, over there the iodine content will be very less. They won't get much of iodine content, right? So they will have more thyroid related issues because there is no proper iodine in their food for those people who are living in hilly region. Okay, and then so it is advised to consume iodinized salt to overcome the thyroxine deficiency. Okay, fine. And then in case of the thyroid is not secreted, thyroxine is secreted less, then it causes goiter. And in case if it is secreted more, then it causes exophthalmic goiter. Exophthalmic goiter. Okay, clear with that? Fine. And then talking about pancreas. See, pancreas behaves like both endocrine and exocrine. Why does it behave like both endocrine and exocrine? Why does it behave like both endocrine and exocrine? Why do you think so? See, it's because I also told you now that pancreas, it releases certain digestive fluid. We studied that in digestive system, right? And also here pancreas, it also releases certain hormone like insulin and glucagon. That's why the pancreas, it behaves like both endocrine and exocrine. See there I told you the pancreas, it releases pancreatic juice which contains trypsin and lipase, and that will be secreted into small intestine, right? Whereas what happens in case of endocrine gland, over here insulin and glucagon, once they are secreted, they will be released into blood stream. They will be released into blood stream, and then it will act on the target organ. Okay, clear with that? Fine. And then pancreas, see here I told you they secrete insulin and glucagon, right? What is the functioning of insulin and glucagon? See, insulin is secreted when there is raise in blood sugar level. It is secreted when there is blood sugar level more than the optimal level. And when is glucagon is secreted? The glucagon is secreted when there is fall in the blood sugar level. So insulin is secreted when the blood sugar level is very high, and then glucagon is secreted when the blood sugar level is very low. Okay, that's why the diabetic patient, in case if there is too much of sugar in their blood, what happens? They take insulin injection, right? They take insulin injection, right? Clear? And then talking about adrenal gland is also called as suprarenal gland. It is also called as suprarenal gland. Where is it located? On top of each kidney. On top of each kidney, the adrenal gland is located. The secretion of, what is the function? They secrete which hormone? They secrete adrenaline and noradrenaline. Okay, clear with that? And what is the functioning of adrenal gland? See, getting scared, sweating, shivering are the results of adrenal glands. Okay, and noradrenal, it helps the body to calm down. Okay, so there is some person who wants to know what is forebrain. See, I have already covered central nervous system in human, wherein I have covered about the brain, spinal cord and everything. So if you want to know what is forebrain, go back to the session behind, just before 1 hour I have explained about brain. You can watch there. Okay, so the adrenal gland is involved, this hormone, they play a major role in getting scared, sweating, shivering are the results of adrenaline. Okay, and noradrenaline, it helps in calming down. And I also told you that there is autonomous nervous system in which there are two types, sympathetic and parasympathetic. Sympathetic, it speeds up the activity, whereas parasympathetic, it slows down, right? So Here you can see getting scared, sweating, shivering, all this, that time the speed is increased. So which type of nervous system is involved? It is sympathetic. Whereas in case of, calming down, parasympathetic is involved. Okay, clear? Then which hormone is involved? It is noradrenaline. Whereas in case of this, it is which hormone? Adrenaline is involved. Okay, clear with that? Fine. So next, talking about ovaries. So ovaries, these are the female reproductive organ. Location in the lower abdomen. It is located in the lower abdomen, and it plays very important role in the secretion of progesterone and estrogen. What is the functioning of progesterone? Progesterone, it plays very important role during pregnancy, which prepares the inner lining of the uterus wall. Okay, and what about estrogen? Estrogen also plays very important role in developing the secondary sexual characteristics in female, and it also plays important role in menstrual cycle. Okay, clear with that? Fine. And then the next one is testis in male. So it is a male reproductive organ which is located in scrotum. It is involved in the secretion of testosterone. What is the function of this testosterone? Testosterone is a reproductive hormone. It is responsible for the development of secondary sexual characteristic in male. Okay, clear with that? So this is the summary of the endocrine glands that is present in human beings. What hypothalamus? It releases which type of hormone? Releasing hormone. It controls the release of hormones from pituitary gland, right? And then from pituitary gland, growth hormone is released, which regulates the growth. And then we spoke about thyroid, where thyroxine will be released, that will regulate the metabolism of a body. And adrenal, it will release adrenaline gland, right? They prepare the body for the what? Emergency condition. And pancreas, it will release insulin, which it will regulate the blood sugar level in the body. And then testis, testosterone, secondary sexual characteristics in male. And then ovaries, they will secrete estrogen and progesterone, which will play important role in the development of secondary sexual characteristic in female. That is all about human endocrine system. That's all about human endocrine system, right? So yeah, now you have a quiz. I want you all to answer to this question, right? Which of the following statement is incorrect about the hormone? Option A says hormones are secreted directly into the blood. Option B says that hormones act on target organs. Option C says that the hormones are stored in body once their action is completed. And option D says that the deficiency of hormones causes diseases. Which one is the right answer? Any guesses? So there is a student who says option C is the right answer, right? Yes, it is option C is the right answer. Okay, so next question. Given below is a list of gland. Identify the gland that functions only on endocrine glands. That functions only on endocrine glands, right? So it says pituitary gland, salivary gland, pancreas and adrenal gland. So out of this you will have to choose only those glands that functions as endocrine only, So which one? See, pituitary gland, okay fine. What about salivary gland? No, it is not endocrine. What about pancreas? I told pancreas, it behaves like both exocrine and endocrine, right? So now, which one behaves only like endocrine gland? It is 1 and 4. So option C is the right answer. Okay? Fine. What do hormones act on? Do they act only on target organs, or do they act on the cells away from the source of secretion? Do they act on nerve cells, or both A and B? No, option C is not the right answer. Option C is not the right answer. Not option C. It is both A and B. It is both A and B. Okay. So yeah, we have almost come to the end of this session. So now we will be studying about the coordination in plants. Okay, so I told you in plant there is no nervous system. So over here the plants, here the coordination is done by hormones only. Okay, you get to see only hormonal coordination in plants. Okay, there is only chemical coordination, they don't have any nervous system, and then so you get to see so many phytohormones in plant, we'll study about them. Okay, and one more thing, the plant movement is of two types, tropic movement and nastic movement. Out of this tropic and nastic movement is not important for your exam. Focus on tropic movement only. So like different types of tropic movement, what are the different types of tropic movement, that is very important. See, there are some 5 types, and again tropic movement is nothing but it is the response of that organism towards the source or in the direction of the stimuli. That is called as tropic movement or tropism. It can be positive and it can be negative also. There are some 5 types, we will see each one. One is phototropism. Phototropism is the stem tip. Okay, so there is a student who is asking me to explain about adrenaline. See, I have explained about adrenaline just before 15 to 20 minutes. Just go back and check that particular, part of the video. Just before 15 to 20 minutes I have explained about adrenaline, so you can go back and check that. Okay, so yeah, here phototropism, here the stem, it grows towards the light. This is positive phototropism. Whereas geotropism, here the root which grows towards the gravity, that is positive geotropism. Okay, so here it is movement towards the gravity. If it is against the gravity, then it is negative geotropism. Okay, and then the third one is chemotropism. Chemotropism, it is towards the chemical, response to the chemical. For example, the pollen tube, it grows towards a chemical that is produced by ovule, that is chemotropism. Whereas hydrotropism is nothing but the response of organism to water. The response of organism to water. For example, the root, it moves towards the water, that is hydrotropism. Okay, and then lastly there is thigmotropism. It is the response to solid substance or the surface or even the touch. You would have seen touch me not plant and climbers and all that. All this is the example of thigmotropism. Okay, clear with that? And then like I told you, in plant you get to see chemical coordination. See here, nothing but most of the activities, it is controlled by plant hormone. They are also called as phytohormones, and these phytohormones, they will be secreted in one particular place, and then they will travel to the target region. How? Through a process that is called as diffusion. Okay, so now let's see what are all the types of plant hormone that is present and what is its function. That is important from plant hormones. If you study this is more than enough for your exam. Okay, so the first one is auxin. See, the auxin, it is produced at shoot tip and it helps in growth of the stem. And the second one is gibberellin. It helps in the growth of vegetative. It helps in vegetative growth. And then the third one is cytokinin. This promotes cell division and it is present mainly in fruits and seeds. Whereas abscisic acid, you get to see mostly, they inhibit the growth and they also, induces the wilting of the leaf. So you get to see in older leaf, right? And then fifth one, that is ethylene. It helps in ripening of the fruit. Okay, so these are the phytohormones that are present within plant body and this is their function, right? This is all about plant hormone. So now we have come to the end of the session, right? So we are done with this control and coordination chapter, wherein we started with the introduction part, wherein I explained the importance of control and coordination. Then we started with nervous system, we studied the components of nervous system, then we studied reflex action, types of reflex action, we saw the differences and all that. We covered human nervous system, wherein we saw central nervous system as well as peripheral nervous system in depth, and after that we even studied the coordination in plants also, wherein we saw the tropic movement, types of tropic movement, and then we studied about phytohormones as well. Okay, so yeah, there is someone who is asking which is the gaseous hormone. Which is the gaseous hormone? It is ethylene. Okay, clear with that? So students, if you have any doubts, then you can comment in the comment section. You can feel free to comment in the comment section. All done, so we are done with this chapter, control and coordination. So now have a quiz for you all. What is endocrine and exocrine gland? I have already explained, Nadia. See, in case of endocrine, the hormone that is secreted from the glands that will be directly released into the bloodstream. Whereas in case of exocrine gland, what happens is that the fluid that is secreted by exocrine gland, they will be secreted directly into the surface, not into the bloodstream. For example, saliva. Saliva is secreted by salivary gland. That is an exocrine gland. So the saliva, after it is secreted out from the salivary gland, it is released into the buccal cavity, that is to the surface of your mouth. Whereas what about the gland like this one, pancreas? Pancreas, it behaves like exocrine and endocrine also, right? Pancreas, it secretes this insulin and glucagon. After secreting insulin and glucagon, that insulin and glucagon will be released into the bloodstream, right? So endocrine gland, whatever hormone it is secreting, that will be released into bloodstream, and exocrine gland, whatever is secreted by the exocrine gland, that will be released onto the surface. That is the difference. Okay, so now you have a tiny quiz. Just try to answer to this question and then we'll be done with the session. See, which of the following is an example for thigmonastic movement? Is it bending of shoot towards light, or is it shutting of venous flytrap, or is it the movement of root towards the water, or option D says the movement of pollen tube towards embryo? Which one is the right answer? Which one is the right answer? See, thigmotropism, I already told you, right? It is towards touch. It is towards touch and the support. So here, see, movement of root towards water is not. Okay, there is a student who says option A. So it is not even towards light. I told it is touch and for support. So there is a student who says option B. So S, option B is the right answer, right? And then next question, the nastic movements are, is it growth independent or non-directional or fast or all of the above? So there is a student who says option B. No, it is all of the above. It is growth independent, it is non-directional, and it is also fast. Okay, and next question, the movement of root towards water. It is towards water. So which one do you think? Is it chemotropism, or is it hydrotropism, or is it phototropism, or geotropism? Water. Which one? Yes, option B. It is hydrotropism. And which of the following is not associated with the growth of the plant? Is it auxin or gibberellin, cytokinins or abscisic acid? Which one? No, it's not option B. See, not gibberellin. The one which is involved, which is, not associated with the growth, which is not associated with the growth. Which one? It is abscisic acid. I told you now, abscisic acid is seen in the older leaves, in dried leaf, which will fall off. Okay. Next, the main function of auxin in plant is, does it elongate the cell or promote the cell division? Does it inhibit growth or does it promote the growth of stem? It elongates the cell. Option A is the right answer. Okay. So yeah, we are done with this session. We have completed entire control and coordination chapter. Right, if you have any doubts, feel free to comment in the comment section and I'll get back to you. Right? Okay. So yeah, do like the video and share this video with your friends as well, so that it will be helpful for them also. And if you have not yet subscribed to our channel, do subscribe to our channel for much more sessions like this. Right? So yeah, thank you all and have a great day, and also all the best for your preparation. Thank you all.